Hello and welcome. You know, the Old Testament is full of stories and information about not only our Creator, but also with prophecies about a coming Messiah who would come to save God's people. In the New Testament, we learn of that Savior. We begin with the birth of the baby Jesus, our awaited Messiah, and it goes all the way through his life when he begins teaching. It tells about his miracles, the things he taught his people. It tells us about his disciples and his friendships. It shows us the temptations he faced in the desert. And then it follows him in the triumphant but yet bittersweet entry into Jerusalem during the Holy Week. Bittersweet because Jesus knew that in just a few days he would be hung on the cross, crucified, dead, and be buried. But it also tells us about the resurrection and how his followers began to spread his word throughout the world. Music through the years has also told us those stories. Some members and friends of Sandia Presbyterian Church have come together to sing some of their favorite songs from this season. There are classical songs, favorite hymns, spirituals, some Southern gospel, and some contemporary praise music. We wish we could present it to you in person, but since we can't this year, we invite you to sit back and enjoy us in this virtual Easter concert.
Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and the people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed. And he healed them. Large crowds from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the region across the Jordan followed him. Now when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside, and he sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them.
So Jesus went with him. A swarm of people were following Jesus, crowding in on him. A woman was there who had been bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a lot under the care of many doctors and had spent everything she had without getting any better. In fact, she had gotten worse. Because she had heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his clothes. She was thinking, if I can just touch his clothes, I'll be healed. Her bleeding stopped immediately, and she sensed in her body that her illness had been healed. At that very moment, Jesus recognized the power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" His disciples said to him, "Don't you see the crowd pressing in against you? Yet you ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus looked around carefully to see who had done it. The woman, full of fear and trembling, came forward. Knowing what had happened to her, she fell down in front of Jesus and told him the whole truth. He responded, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace, healed from your disease."
My physicians tried in vain, but 12 long years of pain is proof that there is nothing they can do. But I just heard somebody say, there's a healer on the way. Somehow I'm gonna press my way through. I've gotta get to Jesus, gotta get to Jesus. I know that he's the answer to my need. Bring him all my problems, only he can solve them. Mend the broken pieces, I've gotta get to Jesus. When my world is torn apart and I need healing for my heart, I really don't know how much more that I can take. Trapped inside a cloud of disbelief and doubt, I know there's just one way of escape. I've gotta get to Jesus, gotta get to Jesus. I know that he's the answer to my needs. Bring him all my problems, only he can solve them. Mend the broken pieces, I've gotta get to Jesus. If the hem of his garment is all I can reach, I know if I touch him, I will be free. I will be free. I've gotta get to Jesus, gotta get to Jesus. I know that he's the answer to my needs. Bring him all my problems, only he can solve them. Mend the broken pieces, I've gotta get to Jesus. Bring him all my problems, only he can solve them. Mend the broken pieces, all my broken pieces. I've gotta get to Jesus. I've gotta get to Jesus. I've gotta get to Jesus.
One day, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's go over to the other side of the lake." So they got into a boat and set out. As they sailed, he fell asleep. A squall came down on the lake, so that the boat was being swamped, and they were in great danger. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Master, Master, we're going to drown." He got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters. The storm subsided, and all was calm. "Where is your faith?" he asked his disciples. In fear and amazement, they asked one another, "Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him."
One, two, three, four.
It was on a stormy night as we tried to stay afloat. We saw the stranger sight as we walked.
When you pray, don't be like the hypocrites. They like to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners so that people will see them. I assure you, that's the only reward they'll get. But when you pray, go to your room, shut the door, and pray to your Father who is present in that secret place. Your Father who sees what you do in secret will reward you. When you pray, don't pour out a flood of empty words as the Gentiles do. They think that by saying many words they'll be heard. Don't be like them, because your Father knows what you need before you ask. Pray like this: Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Jesus left and made his way to the Mount of Olives, as was his custom. And the disciples followed him. When he arrived, he said to them, "Pray that you won't give in to temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw, knelt down, and prayed. He said, "Father, if it is your will, take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not my will, but your will must be done."
To see the King of heaven fall in anguish Jesus wrought his Father's will, to claim the souls his blood alone could purchase, to free us all from the chains of hell. There in the darkness, where Jesus drank the bitter cup, the pain of our inequity and weakness was swallowed up in his perfect love. He died to bind our wounds and wash away our tears. He suffered all the anguish of mankind. He wept for every heartache we will ever know. His tears were yours. His tears were mine. He died to bind our wounds and wash away our tears. He suffered all the anguish of mankind. He wept for every heartache we will ever know. His tears were yours. His tears
You know, we have this COVID crisis that's going on to almost a year. And sometimes people might ask, how can a God up there love us with all the stuff that's going on? Well, in Romans chapter 5, it said that God demonstrated his love for us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. One of the most famous verses in the Bible is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever would believe in him, they shall not perish but have everlasting life. Well, I remember my mom asking me once, and she actually said to me, you know, how much I love you, Johnny? I love you this much. And then she'd ask me, how much do you love me? And I'd say, I love you this much, Mom. Well, God sent his only Son into the world, and he stretched out his arms on a cross and told us, this is how much I love you.
When they crucified
At the 6th hour, darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour. At the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing near heard this, they said, "Listen, he is calling Elijah." One man ran, filled a sponge with wine vinegar, put it on a stick, and offered it to Jesus to drink. "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to take him down," he said. With a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last. The curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and when the centurion who stood there in front of Jesus heard his cry, saw how he died, he said, "Surely this was the man, the Son of God."
In Mark's Gospel, chapter 15, Jesus dies on the cross. After people have been making fun of him and jeering him, he dies and he cries out his last, and the curtain is torn in two in the temple. And then, interestingly, in verse 30, it says, "Now, when a centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he breathed his last, the centurion said, 'Truly, this man was God's son.'" I find it absolutely amazing that in this passage, all the people who were the children of God, the Israelites, were not believing. They doubted him. They made fun of him. The only one who makes a testimony to the fact that Jesus dying on the cross was God's son was a Roman centurion. In John's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 10, let me read what it says. "Jesus was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, but his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood, not of the will of the flesh or of the will of man, but of God." I just find that absolutely interesting that in both of these situations, the people you would have expected to follow Jesus and to believe in him didn't. But the ones you wouldn't expect did. I pray that each of us would come to Jesus and believe in him as the Son of God. He is the Son of God. He died for us.
Savior, I come, I quiet my soul. Remember, redemption's hill, where your blood was spilled for my ransom, yeah. And everything I once held dear, I counted on as lost. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Rid me of myself, I belong to you. Oh, lead me to the cross. You were as I, tempted and tried. You won. Word became flesh, bore my sin and death. Now you're risen, and everything I once held dear, I count it all as lost. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Rid me of myself, I belong to you. Oh, lead me to your heart. Lead me to your heart. Lead me to to your heart. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord.